You're listening to Pod for Israel. For more information, go to oneforisrael.org. Welcome to a special edition of Pod for Israel. And we have with us here today Matan, and he's heading up our IDF Soldiers Ministry. And there's some interesting things happening. Tomorrow is a big day.
Yeah, tomorrow is election day in Israel.
Third election this year. That's kind of
in 1 year.
Okay, who has an election 3 times in a year? You just love elections?
No, we definitely don't like election, but it seems like a situation that happened every 70 years happened this year in Israel. So we really have problems with forming a coalition in Israel. So
basically, just to kind of bring people up to snuff, first Bibi won, but he didn't win.
Yeah, so Bibi got last year in the first election, he got the most mandate, which is like basically his party won in big numbers, and also the right wing. But the right wing couldn't form a coalition. One of the parties, which is right wing Russian immigrants that made Aliyah, that's Lieberman. Yeah. So he didn't want to come with Bibi to his coalition. So Bibi didn't had 61 seats at the Israeli Congress.
Okay.
And then we went to the second election, which Bibi didn't win so dramatically like we thought. And then they tried to the left center wing tried to form a coalition, and then Bibi tried again, and that didn't work. So that's why we are in our third election.
So just explain it for all of our viewers who are not Israeli, who don't really understand the crazy Israeli politics. It's not like just the two-party system we have in America of Republicans and Democrats. It's not like you elect a president. You're actually electing a political party who they choose. Likud, in this case, chooses Benjamin Netanyahu, where there's blue and white chooses Benny Gantz. And so each of the different political parties internally chooses who the premier will be.
Yeah, because Israel is very diverse. There is all kind of groups in Israel. You have the Arabs, you have the national religious people, you have the Orthodox religious people, you have secular right wing and secular left wing. So there is many parties in Israel. So in the right wing, there is at least 4 to 5 different parties, and every one of them have their own group.
Right.
So if one of them choosing not to go with the leader, in that case Bibi Netanyahu, which is the head of the Likud party, which got last election 33 seats, tomorrow they're expecting to get 35 seats. So if one of the parties at the right wing decide not to go with Bibi, that's it. He doesn't have a coalition and he cannot form a government.
So here's the more complex thing about these parties and these coalitions, because you'll have you could classify Likud as being right-wing politically, but also has secular. There's kind of a variety of people from religious to secular inside of that party. But then you have ultra-Orthodox parties like Shas. You have
Yahadut Torah, which is the ultra-Orthodox that came from Europe, the Ashkenaz ones.
Okay, and then there's another Orthodox party.
Yeah, that's their national religious. That's called Yamina.
Okay, and so then you have, so with these coalitions, it's kind of like after the elections are done, the work actually has just begun.
Yeah, then they need to decide on like... basically like decisions about what to do with the money, what to do in the 4 years that they are in government. Every party have to give something to the other party.
This whole playing off favors and I'll scratch your back, I'll give you this.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be a defense minister, and as long as you stay with that, Naftali Bennett got his appointment because he was going to leave.
So many people
coalition
will vote, for example, for the biggest party in the right wing, which is Likud, but there are atheist and secular people, but they will get eventually in their coalition, they will get all the religious people, which are not going to the army, they don't do army service, or they are not paying taxes or going to work like the secular people. So in one hand, you're choosing right wing because you're in your values, you are right wing kind of guy, but in the end, you're getting in the coalition like religious parties that you don't agree with their statements or values.
So for some specific reference, you might say, well, Likud is good and all their policies they lay out, but when they're under pressure to hold on to power is where things can get kind of dangerous. That's where Shas can say, basically all of our, Datim, the religious, they don't have to go to the army, but the rest of the suckers, they have to get drafted.
Exactly.
They can extort more money out of the system. They can do whatever they want, because if Shas leaves or one of these other parties leave, well, there goes Bibi's coalition, and that's kind of what brought us to elections the first time.
Yeah,
there was threats internally, inside of Bibi's coalition.
Exactly. That's what happened. In average time in Israel, every 2.5 years we have election, because one of the parties deciding that what the government is doing is not for their voters, so deciding to leave, and then the coalition is falling, and then we're going back to election. But if you ask me what's going to happen tomorrow, sadly, actually, I don't think any side will form a coalition tomorrow. I think it's going to be a tie, and eventually they're not going to have the numbers of seats that they need. And then we're going again to almost 60 days of fighting with each other. Every side will try
casting blame.
Yeah. And what happening in the last year, and that's what saddens me the most, is that in Israel, we are in 1 year of elections. So there is all kind of, every side casting bad things on the other side. It came to levels that it's really
it's a real mess.
Yeah, it's a mess, and it's doing damage to society and to in families, in organizations, and it's really sad, because we need to suffer that every 4 years, not every year, all year. Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, what we can be praying for, so kind of to wrap it up and get to some, we could talk about politics, because especially to explain to our viewers, and our listeners, like, this is a complicated, super complex democracy. It's very complicated, and especially when you bring in the coalitions and all the cultural differences. It's not Republican, Democrat, Independent. It's like 10 parties that are involved at the end of the day that make the cut. And so I guess to be praying, first of all, like you mentioned, for unity for the country. We need to come back together again. Any political fight, even right now in America, there's the whole politics that are stirring up, makes the divide even deeper and more vicious in a way. And can you imagine doing 3 elections inside of a year? Because elections is typically party against party, pit against each other. And so we need unity in our country. We really need to resolve a resolution, and that's going to be a miracle. Like you said, no one's really under the impression that one person will walk away with a clear coalition path to victory.
So pray, the first thing is for unity in Israel, from all sides of the Israeli society, because we really need that. The second topic of prayer for me is that God will inform the right coalition. I think every side have his leaders, and they are great leaders, and everyone fighting for his values, but God knows what's best for Israel for the next few years. So that's what I'm praying.
A coalition without compromise, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's tough to get.
And also a coalition that will be good for the believers in Israel, because we are if a bad coalition for the believers will be formed, we have consequences on everything that we're doing in Israel.
Just to give a short example, Shas is in charge of the Ministry of Interior, which That's why many believers are rejected from their aliyah. They're not able to come into the country because
many believers,
they say,
Jewish believers,
you're not Jewish, right? And they reject them based on their faith.
Yeah.
And so getting Shas out of that portfolio would be a really great thing to have.
So that's only one small example, but when they have power in general, not just some offices, but when they have power in general, we feeling it as believers in terms of the ministry that we're doing in all aspects. So...
Well, I think this gives us some good things to be praying about. Thank you guys for praying for Israel. Thank you for praying for our elections. Continue to pray. And as you know, as we explained, the elections don't stop at Monday night. They don't stop there. It actually only begins. So continue to pray for Israel. Continue to pray for the political process, for there to be peace and, resolution inside of this, that we can actually move on as a state and as a country to better things.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
All right.
Amen.
Thanks, Matan. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're listening to Pod for Israel. For more information, go to oneforisrael.org.